you are training for a running race and you got hurt, you go to the doctor or you ask your friends, ask social media, what should I do? Should I rest or should I run? Most everybody's going to just flat out say rest, especially your doctor. And this is not the best advice. Is rest important? Absolutely. It's not the end all be all. And if somebody doesn't first ask you when the pain happens, be wary of their advice, because when the pain happens is very, very important for how much rest, if rest, you need to do at all. If you have a ton of pain, keeps you up at night, you can't find any comfortable position, even when you're just hanging out, you have to rest. You need to go to the doctor, you need medical management. But if your pain is at other times, you probably don't need to rest that long. Yeah, sure, maybe you need to rest a day or two, maybe a couple of days, but then you can get right back into it. And actually, if you don't get right back into it, you can make the problem worse when you do get back into it later on. Now, getting back into it doesn't mean jumping right back with what your training plan said. What it means is you rest a couple of days, take a few days off, let the pain come down to a reasonable level, and then reevaluate your training plan. What is the last distance you knew you could run without any pain before the pain set in? Let's say you just ran 8 miles today. Ran 8 miles today. That did not feel good. You wake up tomorrow and it really hurts. You wake up the next day and feels better, hurts a little bit. And then you wake up the third day and the pain is gone. So you're like, oh, great, I'm going to go run. My training plan this week has a 9-mile long run. 8 miles long run last week, 9 miles this week. I'm going to jump right into 9 miles because I'm good. I have no pain. That is where you're going wrong, and it's not your fault because nobody has told you this. The doctor says just rest and ease back into it. What the hell does ease back into it mean? I'm telling you, it's reevaluate what your training plan says. Go back to the distance that you know didn't hurt. That could be thinking back to your 8-mile run and you felt good for 5 miles. You felt okay for 6, but at 6.5, you were like, oh shoot, like I'm really going to be pushing through this last 1.5 miles. And you did, you pushed through. So go back to the known good distance. So I would even do like 5.5 miles, maybe the 6, definitely not the 6.5, because you felt good between miles 5 and 6. So be a little bit nicer to yourself and go a little bit less than the 6, maybe the 5.5, 5 3/4, max 6. And that's how you ease back into it. Don't go into your next running distance because the pain is gone after 3 days doesn't mean you're healed. It just means that you came below threshold for your pain and any inflammation. But if you go into that 9 miles, or maybe it was 10 miles if you're doing 2 miles a week, which is a whole other story I don't recommend you do. That is another video for another day. But if you went into that 9 or 10 miles, you're going to cause problems. It's going to flare up, it's going to hurt worse, and it's going to stick around longer. So when you feel good and feel like you can get back to running, but do the known distance that you can run without pain. In the meantime, also do cross training. Cross training is another kind of cardio activity, endurance activity to get your heart and your lungs working and the rest of your body moving, but it's a different movement than what running is. So running is very repeated movement. Your legs hit the ground, your ankles take impact, your knees take impact, your hips take impact, your back takes impact. Your hips and your knees have to move, a certain amount. Your ankles need to move a certain amount. Do a different cardio activity. Get your heart and your lungs moving and working, but use other body parts. Maybe you're walking, so it's less of the impact. Maybe it's swimming, so you're using more of your arms as opposed to your legs. Of course, you're using your legs too, but you're using your arms way more in swimming than you do in running. Yes, of course, you're using your legs a lot too, but no impact there. Cycling, you're doing a bigger range of motion. You're in a different position. These are all different cardio activities. These are cross training. Strength training is not cross training. Of course, strength training is important, but right now we're talking about doing other cardio activities so you don't lose your fitness while you have to wait a little while before you can run the distance that you can without pain. That was a long way of saying, if you're training for a race and you have pain, take a few days off to rest. When you're ready to get back into running, reevaluate your running. Go back to the distance that's known, that feels good.